Most people I talk to are actually terrified of retirement. And honestly, I get it. The paycheck stops, and that's a massive psychological hurdle to clear. We've been conditioned by the financial industry to think we need some impossible magic number in the bank. Otherwise, we'll be living in a cardboard box by age 75. But here's the secret they don't mention: when you stop working, the cost of living usually plummets. I've been digging into my own numbers lately, and the difference, quite frankly, is staggering. I'm talking about a life where you fire your biggest expenses and reclaim your time. Hey everyone, I'm Dave. Welcome to the channel where we focus on the practical, real world side of financial independence. Our goal here is simple: to help you simplify the math so you can stop stressing and start living. If you want to see more behind the scenes breakdowns of how we're making our own retirement happen, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Today, I'm breaking down my own personal blueprint from tax drops to downsizing and even the bittersweet reality of the pet tax to show you why retirement might be much closer than you think. First, let's talk about the money you never actually see. When you're working, a massive chunk of your gross pay disappears before it ever hits your bank account. You're funneling money into your 401k contributions, catch up contributions, and HSA deposits. Think about the logic. If you're saving 15 to 20% of your income for retirement, you aren't actually living on that money today. So when you finally call it a career, you don't need to replace that money in your budget. It wasn't an expense, it was a goal. Stopping that forced saving feels like a massive immediate raise. You're finally getting to spend the harvest instead of planting more seeds. Then there's the tax reality. Right now, as an employee, I'm losing 7.65% right off the top for Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes. In retirement, those taxes effectively go to zero. Even better, when we move to our new condo location, our local tax drops to an even 1%, down from 1.125. But the real champion here is the federal bracket shift. Right now, while I'm working, my income puts me in the 22 or 24% tax bracket, but because I won't need to earn as much gross living to live the same lifestyle, I'll be dropping most likely into the 12% bracket. When you stack that 10 to 12% federal drop on top of the payroll savings, I'm keeping nearly 20% more of my money just by changing my source of income from W-2 to portfolio. You win on the percentage and the total amount. I live in Pennsylvania, which is secretly one of the best tax havens for retirees. Despite having a 3.07% state tax, Pennsylvania does not tax Social Security, and they do not tax distributions from 401ks or IRAs. As my income shifts from a salary to passive withdrawals, that state tax drag almost entirely evaporates. Now, you do need to check your state's rules because it can be the difference between living on a tight budget and a travel budget. We're also eliminating the single largest line item in our budget: our child. By the time we're ready to retire, we hope he'll be moving out. He takes over his own medical, car insurance, and phone bill. But it's also the resource drain of 3 people versus 2. Right now, we're still paying for most of his food and the hidden costs of running a household for 3. More electricity, more hot water, more of everything. Plus, there are milestones. Whether it's college tuition, which we are currently cash flowing, or even potentially a wedding down the road, once those hurdles are cleared, that money stays with you. Moving from a household of 3 to a household of 2 is really a massive stealth raise. Right now, I pay for medical insurance for 3 people through my employer. When I retire, that expense goes away, but it's replaced by Medicare for both myself and my wife. It's a bit of a wild card, to be honest. It's unclear yet whether Medicare premiums and supplemental coverage will be an increase or maybe a decrease compared to my current workplace plan. But the key is that we're moving from a family plan for 3 down to coverage for 2. Even if the premiums are a wash, the out-of-pocket exposure for that third person is gone. This is where we talk about the physical and financial tax on your time. Right now, I'm maintaining a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath house on 3/4 of an acre. I have a long driveway that I have to plow and salt every winter. But let's talk about the real costs. I'm currently paying nearly $15,000 to upgrade the windows in my house. I previously paid $18,000 for a new roof. I've also replaced the HVAC system, not once, but twice while we've lived here. And while I don't have a water bill as I'm on a well, I have made major repairs to the septic system and replaced the water tank. I even just spent $2,500 to replace both my garage doors, and that's an expense that simply will not exist at the condo. Also, right now I'm looking out my window. I have a bunch of trees that have fallen in the woods that are my responsibility to clean up, including one that fell on my shed, which the shed will either need to be repaired or replaced. This is thousands of dollars that I will be spending right now that, quite simply, I won't be spending in retirement. When we move to the condo, I have brand new windows and I'm trading a lawnmower and a contractor's phone number for a simple monthly fee. People love to complain about HOAs, and look, they aren't wrong. You lose some control. But for us, the trade-off is huge. Our HOA fee covers water and cable, which means I can kill my YouTube TV subscription. That alone costs over $90 a month, so that's over $1,000 a year in savings right there. And here's the kicker. In my current house, if the water heater goes, I'm out $1,500. At the condo, the HOA owns the water heater because they pay for the water. They're responsible for paying for it. Same with shared laundry. If the dryer kicks the bucket, it's the HOA's problem, not mine. I'm trading unpredictable disaster for a fixed monthly fee. My property taxes alone, when we moved to the condo, are dropping from $7,000 a year to $2,700. Now, let's look at insurance. Right now at the condo, I'm paying for a renter's policy, but I want to clarify. That's the insurance cost I'm paying in the condo currently as I have a renter. Because I'll be living in the property myself, that cost may go down even further once I convert it to an owner-occupied policy. When you add in the fact that I won't need $800 a year in flood insurance that I'm paying now, I'm looking at less than $400 a year for total coverage. That's about $1,500 a year saved just on insurance. If you saw in my last video, currently I own 2 rental properties that I rent on Airbnb and Vrbo. While these are profitable, there are fixed and variable costs associated with these that if I sell and just live off the proceeds, I'll no longer have. But it's not just about the money. I'll also have less mental energy spent having to deal with the administrative side of rentals, such as the bookings, the guest issues, the scheduling, and the constant administrative fatigue. When I retire, the plan is to sell those and move that money into a liquid portfolio. Suddenly, those expenses vanish and the on-call stress vanishes right along with them. So, I'm trading a complicated business for a simple, liquid life. Right now, I work from home, but my wife and I also run a pet sitting business. We put a ton of miles on our car. Once we retire and sell that business, those miles, along with the gas, the tires, the oil changes, and so on, those expenses vanish. We likely won't even need 2 cars. Transitioning to a 1-car household deletes an entire insurance premium and a second registration. It's a massive wealth builder. Even with a work-from-home job, there's a social tax to working. You buy clothes for work events or social obligations. In retirement, that pressure to dress the part just disappears. You aren't buying less. You can downsize what you already have. You dress for yourself, not for a networking event. And while we're talking about cutting overhead, let's talk about life insurance. For decades, we pay into these policies to protect our families just in case the worst happens during our high earning years. We need to cover the mortgage and the kids' college. But once you're debt free, once the kids are gone, and once your retirement is funded, you have to ask yourself, who am I insuring? If your spouse is protected by the portfolio and the house is paid for, that monthly premium is just an unnecessary tax on your cash flow. By firing my life insurance policy, I'm keeping that premium in my pocket today where I can actually use it. A smaller house is cheaper to keep. I call it the death of 1,000 cuts in reverse. In a 2-bedroom condo, I'll be buying fewer light bulbs, fewer air filters, and less cleaning solution. When I moved from 3/4 of an acre to a condo, the household supplies budget takes a natural dive because there's simply less square footage to manage and maintain. Food is a huge one. Because I work full time and I also run a business, that fatigue is real. Think about it. When you're exhausted at 6 p.m., you order $50 worth of DoorDash just to survive. Retirement, though, gives you time. Time to meal prep, time to shop the sales. When you aren't buying back your energy with convenience meals, your food budget shrinks naturally. This is the bittersweet part. Right now, we have 3 dogs and 2 cats. By the time we retire, it's likely only 2 of our dogs will still be with us, sadly. Once our pets pass, we likely won't replace them immediately, as my wife doesn't want to be walking dogs at the condo every day. Between food and vet bills for 5 animals, this is a massive line item that will eventually leave the ledger. When you add it all up, the taxes, the kid, the house repairs, the rentals, the cars, and the pets, it's realistic that we'll spend $40,000 to $70,000 less per year in retirement. Retirement isn't about replacing your income, it's about replacing your expenses. Once you realize that, the magic number does get smaller and the countdown to chill gets shorter. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to follow our journey. Every small change you make now is just a step closer to that ultimate goal. Budget smart, downsize well, retire easy. That's the countdown to chill. What's one hidden expense that you can't wait to fire? Let me know in the comments.